today with the Atlanta Falcons officially eliminated from the postseason for the 8th straight season. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and who I believe should share the blunt of the blame for the Atlanta Falcons' failures over these past few years. But before I get started on that, I want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell whoever to support my channel. Yes, the Atlanta Falcons for the 8th straight season are eliminated, and they're not going to the playoffs again for the 8th straight season, which means the Atlanta Falcons have the second longest playoff drought in the NFL behind the Jets. And who knows, maybe they'll be tied for second if the Carolina Panthers miss the playoffs again. And look, the Carolina Panthers are 7-6. And they have a chance to make the playoffs. So the Falcons might be by their lonesome when it comes to just being a second team, instead of being tied for second is when it comes to playoff droughts in the league behind the Jets with 14. And so, look, man, this ain't good. This isn't good. That game against Seattle Seahawks went about what I expected. You know, the Falcons hung in a little tough. It was 6 at halftime, and then the Seahawks blew the doors open, and the Falcons had a bunch of special team errors. Color me shocked on that, folks. The Atlanta Falcons being bad on special teams, something we've seen all season. You know, and by the way, I mean, why is the special teams coach still coaching the team? Like why hasn't he been fired yet? Oh, and hold on, like that's also Raheem Morris's coach, one of Raheem Morris's coaching assistants that he was bragging about 2 years ago when he was hired, when he was talking about, oh, I have this big staff, and then I'm going to hire a big staff, and then when all these guys are going to be head coaches, I have replacements. Remember that? Never mind. I'm not going to get started on that. I'm just going to calm down. I'm going to calm down, but I just wanted to bring that up. And so, I mean, the Falcons, I mean, look, man, they've been a bad team all year. They were a bad team yesterday. And the results of that game went about the way I kind of expected it to go, because Seattle is one of the best teams in the NFL for a reason. But, again, the Atlanta Falcons have been eliminated. And to me, there's one man that I'm going to lay the blunt of this blame on when it comes to why the Atlanta Falcons have been such a loser organization over the past few years. I'm looking at Arthur Blank. Yes, I'm going there. I'm going there. Arthur Blank has been a problem for these Atlanta Falcons over these years. And look, that's not to say that Arthur Blank has been horrible as an owner his entire tenure, because that's just not true. Like, Arthur Blank has done a lot of good things over the years as the Atlanta Falcons owner. And I do genuinely believe his heart is in the right place. I do think he cares about trying to build a winner. I do think he has spent money. I do think he has remade the Falcons facilities, the Flowery Branch, and he's remade the training staff, and he's remade and look, whether we want to agree with him or not when it comes to, you know, tearing down the Georgia Dome and building a Mercedes-Benz Stadium and all that stuff. Look, man, I will say this: the Mercedes-Benz Stadium that he's built, that thing is nice, man. That stadium is nice. The way that all of that is set up, the food, the vibes, like, Mercedes-Benz Stadium is nice, man. And so he's done a lot of good stuff. But the one thing that Arthur Blank has not done well, and that's arguably the most important thing that he has not done well as an owner, is he has not hired the right coaches and general managers. And most importantly, he has listened to the wrong people in his ear. And I'm talking about Rich McKay. And I'm putting the blunt on the blame on Arthur Blank because he's the owner. It's his responsibility to get things right. And he hasn't done it. He hasn't done it. The results matter. Arthur Blank, as an owner of the Atlanta Falcons, especially since the start of 2013, since the start of 2013, the Atlanta Falcons have officially missed the playoffs 11 times. 11 times in 13 years, the Atlanta Falcons have missed the playoffs. That is beyond pathetic. It's embarrassing. It's the stuff that losers are made of. You're missing the playoffs 11 times in 13 seasons, including 8 straight times. There's a reason for that. Arthur Blank is listening to the wrong people. Rich McKay has no business being in the Falcons organization. He has no business being a part of the front office. And yet Arthur Blank just sits there on his wheelchair or whatever, and he allows it to happen. He's never been afraid to tell Rich McKay, look, Rich McKay, stay out the way. Stay out the front office way. Let the front office do their jobs. He's never, ever done it. And quite frankly, I don't think he'll ever do it. And that's the problem. He's listening to the wrong people. And he's hiring the wrong people. After Thomas Dimitroff was let go, and quite frankly, I'll be honest, I thought Arthur Blank held on to Thomas Dimitroff too long. When he was here, I didn't think he was doing a good job. And so, fire him. And then you bring in Terry Fontenot. And Terry Fontenot look, I'll give him some credit for this last draft because the Falcons have some nice little defensive players. And they've helped, they've at least there's some hope that he has some talent on the defensive front seven with James Pierce, who's been playing well, and Jalen Walker, and you got Rookaruru and Doralis and Caden Ellis and Diablo. I get it, man. The defense has some talent. But it took him 5 years to build that talent on defense. And you look at the offensive side of the ball. I mean, Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix, injury problems galore with him. Kyle Pitts, don't get me started on him. I mean, one can make an argument. Kyle Pitts might be the biggest bust in Atlanta Falcon history. I mean, it's just bad, man. And you passing up on Jamar Chase and Penil Sewell and Jalen Waddle and Micah Parsons and Surtain, the cornerback from the Broncos, and all that talent that he passed up on to take Kyle Pitts, who's just done nothing. I mean, that game against the Seattle Seahawks was kind of like, it was a little bit of a microcosm from Kyle Pitts. Like, you see the talent. He has some talent. He had 90 yards receiving, but he had a bunch of horrible drops, and a couple of those drops that he had resulted in turnovers and picks. It was just bad, man. Kyle Pitts, I'm over Kyle Pitts, and Terry Fontenot drafted him. I look at the head coaches, especially the last two. Even if you want to deem that Dan Quinn was a success, I disagree. But look, Dan Quinn did get the Falcons to a Super Bowl, so you can't take that away from him. And he did lead them to another winning season when they were 10-6, and they won the playoff game. And so, even though I wasn't a big Dan Quinn fan, I won't call him a horrible coach. Like, he did have some success. So even if you want to deem that, you look at the last two coaching hires, Arthur Smith and Raheem Morris. And every time I hear Raheem Morris talk, it's just beyond clear to me. He's not head coaching material. He's not made to be a head coach. He doesn't have it in him. You're hoping that he will learn from his mistakes from 15 years ago when he was coaching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's clear that he hasn't. He's the same guy. Loosey-goosey, player-friendly, yippity-yippity-dee-da-day. That's Raheem Morris's happy-go-lucky guy. That's how Raheem Morris operates. And the team plays like it. Undisciplined, too loose, unserious. And it happens week after week after week. And when I hear him talk yesterday, the one thing that annoyed me with Raheem Morris was when he was talking about how the Atlanta Falcons, the way that we played football in the first half, that's how we should have played the whole game. Remember those comments? He said that. talking about how the team that the Falcons played, the way we played in the first half, that's how we should play. The Atlanta Falcons scored 6 points. It was 6 at halftime. You're talking about that's the way the Falcons should play? Really? What? I mean, are you kidding me? I'm watching that game in the first half and I'm dozing off. I'm half awake watching the Falcons in the first half of that game because the product was bad. Offensively, Atlanta couldn't move the ball. Bijan had a couple of nice little runs, but outside of that, it was a bunch of nothing. Receivers not getting open, making plays. I mean, it was bad, man. Just disaster. And those comments from Raheem Morris is just another example. He just doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have the pulse of the team. I don't even know if the players respect him as a coach. I'm sure they respect him as a buddy or a friend or someone you can go out to a restaurant in Buckhead or something. But as a football coach, Raheem Morris doesn't have it. He doesn't know how to galvanize a team. And I think it's beyond clear, just based off how the Falcons have looked over the course of the season. And especially, I think they've lost, 7 out of the last 8 games since they were 3-2. The Falcons were 3-2 back in early October. They're 4-9. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, it's bad, man. It's beyond pathetic. And Arthur Blank hired him. And the one thing that always creeps up my mind is like, why can't the Atlanta Falcons get in the door for someone like Vrabel from the Patriots? You know, why can't the Falcons get in the door for him? Why can't the Falcons get in the door for McDonald, the coach of the Seahawks? Why can't the Falcons get in the door for McConnell, the head coach of the Vikings? All these nice little successful coaches. Like, why can't the Atlanta Falcons get in the door for someone like a Jim Harbaugh, who's coaching the Chargers? Why can't the Atlanta Falcons get in the door for these young, upright, top-tier coaches? Why did we have to settle for Raheem Morris? And look, I don't want to knock Raheem Morris too much, but he was here the first go-around in 2020 when the Falcons fired Dan Quinn. He wasn't that good. I think the Falcons had a losing record during that time. And the Falcons just hired him 4 years later. See, stuff like this is why I'll deem the Falcons the way that I do. It's why I called them and I nicknamed them, and I tell y'all that their slogan, instead of it being Rise Up, should be Eat, Sleep, Breathe, Losing. Because moves like hiring Raheem Morris as your head coach after seeing what he was doing in Tampa, it's the stuff that organizations that are committed to eat, sleep, breathe, losing do. They make decisions like that. And it's a shame, because I'm going to be honest, man, as an Atlanta Falcon man, I was a fan of the team when they went to the Super Bowl in 1998. And I became emotionally invested in them in 2002 after they got Mike Vick. And there were some fun rides with Mike Vick, some fun seasons with Mike Vick. And then obviously he got the dog fighting scandal, and then he came and went. And then we had a bad year. We hired, that was the Bobby Petrino year in 2007. And then he got let go and he quit. And then, look, that was a nightmarish year. No, I don't want to forget about that. But he goes, and then Mike Smith comes, and then we draft Matt Ryan. And we had 5 straight winning seasons, and that was really the season that was the peak of my Falcon fandom. Those are the seasons that I enjoyed. And ironically, sadly, that's 13 years ago. 13 years ago. It's the last time I had joy for this team. 13 years ago. And then We had a couple of down years, and then we had a random year when we went to the Super Bowl and we had a great offense, and then it just snowballed from there. And as a Falcon fan, it feels like it's just gotten bad every year. Every year, it's just bad. Bad decisions, bad coaching hires, bad general manager hires, bad draft picks, bad free agent signings, bad trades, you name it. The Atlanta Falcons have just done all of it. They just don't make good decisions. And it's bleak right now, man. Like, as an Atlanta Falcon fan with this team, I hate saying this, but there's literally nothing for me to look forward to. And even if Arthur Blank fires Raheem Morris and fires Zach Robinson and fires Terry Fontenot and cleans out and just blows everything up, and they should do that. Do you trust Arthur Blank to hire the right guy? Do you trust him to hire the right general manager? Do you trust him to hire the right coach? Do you trust that whatever they do and whatever general manager and whatever head coach they hire, they're going to get everything right? I don't, because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in 13 years. I haven't seen it since Mike Smith was hired. That was the last time the Atlanta Falcons, in my eyes, had peak glory. It was when Mike Smith was here. It's when we drafted Matt Ryan. And then a few years later, we did that trade and got Julio Jones. And we had Roddy White on the team and Tony Gonzalez on the team and John Abraham on the team. That was the last time the Atlanta Falcons were the peak Atlanta Falcons. And I just haven't, and that team just, those days are just long gone. And now I look at these Atlanta Falcons right now, and they're just perennial losers. They're one of the worst organizations in the NFL. Arguably, maybe I might go, I'll take it a step further. I think the Atlanta Falcons are one of the worst organizations in all the sports. Yeah, I'm going there. I think it's bad. It's really bad with what's happening with these Atlanta Falcons right now, man. It's just, they're unwatchable. They're unrecognizable. They're irrelevant. Nobody outside of the city of Atlanta cares about them. Nobody. You're not going to see the Atlanta Falcons being talked about on ESPN. You're not seeing them talked about on First Take or First Things First or The Herd. Like, you're not going to see the Atlanta Falcons being talked about on these sports networks because no one cares about them. And I don't blame them. They're just irrelevant, man. The thing when it comes to the Falcons that when people mention the Atlanta Falcons, they'll bring up the fact that you blew that Super Bowl 8 years ago. They'll bring that up. And that's about it. They'll just laugh at you. They'll laugh at that result, at how the Falcons blew that Super Bowl to the Patriots. The Atlanta Falcons are a laughingstock. They're a laughingstock across sports right now, man. It's just the truth. And Arthur Blank, due to his inability to listen to the right people and his inability to hire the wrong people, he deserves some responsibility for this, man. He just does. Raheem Morris being the head coach, and then before that, Arthur Smith being the head coach, and having Terry Fontenot as your general manager, it has set this team back 3 or 4 years. And add salt to the wound, you still don't have a quarterback. You still don't have a quarterback. The quarterback position since Matt Ryan retired has been a nightmare. You thought it was Desmond Ridder, he left. You thought it was Kirk Cousins, he's going to be gone. And I don't think it's going to be Michael Penix. I just don't see it with his injury problems. I mean, he's going to be spending the summer he's going to be spending the offseason rehabbing. He's not going to be having time to work on his game. And so he's going to come back. He's going to be the same player, and he's just going to be and he wasn't that good when he was playing. And now you're probably going to have a new offensive staff. Like, it's just a lot on his plate right now that I don't feel eminently confident that Michael Penix is going to be the guy. And so in 2027, in all likelihood, you're going to be looking for a new quarterback. And which means next season, I think, is going to be a wasteful year too. Which brings me to another point that I want to make. If I was Bijan Robinson and Drake London, and there's no one I feel more bad for when it comes to what's going on with these Falcons more than those two. Drake London and Bijan Robinson, because both dudes are studs. They're Pro Bowl caliber players, and they're both one of the best players in the league at their position. I think Bijan Robinson is the best running back in the league, and I think Drake London, at worst, at least, is a top 10 receiver. And I think both of them should ask out. I think both of them should ask for a trade because they deserve better. They both deserve to win. They both deserve to be on a winning franchise. And unfortunately, I think these Atlanta Falcons are a ways away from winning. It sucks, but it's just reality. Bijan Robinson and Drake London this offseason should go up to the front office's office. Whoever's the new general manager, both of them should just say, get me out of here. I want out. I can't deal with this losing anymore. I can't do it. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but if I were them, I would. Because I just think that's how bad things are with these Atlanta Falcons right now. And I just don't see it getting better. I want to be wrong, man. I want to be wrong about the Falcons. And I just don't think I'm going to be wrong. I think this is what the Atlanta Falcons are, man. I think this losing, this stench of inaptitude is going to continue. I think next year, we're going to be singing the same tune. Why? Why can't this team get right? We're going to be saying the same thing. It's going to be a cycle of just bad football after bad football after bad football each and every year. And it's just kind of where it's at, man. And it's because Arthur Blank has put this team in this position he's put this team in this position. And it's just kind of where we are, man. The Atlanta Falcons are just are a mess. They're a bad franchise, and it's not gonna get right. And for my Atlanta sports fans listening to this channel, like I said it last week. The Atlanta Falcons ain't worth the stress. They ain't worth the energy. It's just kind of what it is, man. The Atlanta Falcons ain't worth the trouble. They're not worth it. It's what they eat, sleep, breathe, losing. They're committed to it. It's in their DNA, and I don't think it's changing. And instead of focusing your energy on the Atlanta Falcons, focus your energy on the Atlanta Hawks, who are 14-11, despite not having Trae Young. Jalen Johnson is playing out of his mind, averaging a triple-double near over the past month, just having an unbelievable season. You got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You got Onyeka Okongwu. Trae Young is going to come back soon. Dyson Daniels is still one of the best defenders in the league. And on top of that, you're winning games. Oh, and did I fair to mention, you got the New Orleans Pelicans draft pick. And the New Orleans Pelicans have the worst record in the NBA, which means that pick could be the number one pick in the NBA draft. At worst, you're looking at a top 5 pick in a draft with AJ DeBanza, Cam Boozer, and Daryl Peterson. And so as an Atlanta Hawk fan, there's a lot to be excited about, to say the least. Not just this season, but heading into the future. I can't say the same for the Atlanta Falcons. I just can't. They're losers. And in the Georgia Bulldogs, man, they beat Alabama. And I know the Georgia Bulldogs ain't an Atlanta team or whatever, but look, man, we got a lot of Georgia Bulldogs in Atlanta, a lot of Georgia Bulldog fans, so they doing their thing. And I know the Braves had a down year, but we all know the Atlanta Braves in their resume, they gonna turn it around. They'll be good again, so I'm not worried about them. But when it comes to these Atlanta Falcons, man, dog, we in for a long We in for a long journey, I'll just say. And I just I don't think it's getting better. I don't think it's gonna get better, unfortunately. But hey, man, that's the world we live in. That's the reality of the situation. And look, man, I think Arthur Blank deserves to have some responsibility in all this, man. That's how I feel. But that's all I have, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.